Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we, cut through the noise and really hand you the blueprints for mastery. You're here for knowledge, quick but deep. And today, we're delivering something pretty intense, an unfiltered, raw look at Stoicism. But not the passive endurance version you might know. This is strategic, aggressive even.
Yeah, that misconception is exactly why we're digging into this today. We're not really interested in tips for feeling a bit calmer on your commute. We are cracking open what we're calling the Stoic Strategist Codex. Think of it as a philosophical blueprint. A pretty aggressive one, actually, for seizing internal command, real sovereignty over the self.
Right. And our mission today, it's ambitious. We're examining Stoicism, not through the eyes of some gentle meditating sage, but through the strategy map of a general preparing for war, a total war, but fought entirely inside. We're basically treating this like secret orders for life mastery.
And we have to start right at the cornerstone, the absolute foundation of the whole operation, the logos. Now, if you think the logos is just some, vague, floaty concept, you're missing the tactical urgency here. In this codex, it's the central strategic premise, full stop. It's defined not as some benevolent god up in the sky, but as a sovereign intelligence of the universe, or even the order within your breath. It's like the operating system of reality itself.
Yep, the operating system.
And your suffering, that's basically a system error. It's caused by being incompatible with that system, resisting it.
That leads straight into this strategic paradox, doesn't it? Zeno of Citium, the founder, he saw the whole cosmos as a city of gods and men, ruled by law, eternal and rational.
Exactly. And the central idea is, it's brutal, but incredibly effective. Suffering doesn't happen because the world is random or mean. It comes from resisting the world's fundamental design, its structure.
So resisting is a strategic mistake.
The biggest one, it's ultimate self-sabotage. The strategist, the real strategist, sees that mastery starts not by chasing comfort or, external validation. It starts with comprehension. Seeing the geometry of the world, the underlying logic, and then aligning yourself with it.
Okay, but alignment. That word, it still sounds a bit passive to me.
Yeah.
How is that aggressive strategy?
Because the mission here is purification. It demands this active, almost aggressive burning away of illusion, the illusion that you control everything, the illusion that things are unfair, the illusion of being a victim, all of it. The goal is to align your personal will so perfectly with that cosmic fire, that cosmic order, that your movement becomes indistinguishable from the world's own structure. You stop fighting the current. You become the current. That's the ultimate strategic edge. You're not fighting reality anymore. You are the unfolding of reality's law.
All right, let's move into segment one then. The foundation of strategy. Because before any external plan works, we need that internal architecture sorted, starting with the logos again, but specifically this invocation of the logos. The source calls it the strategy of consent to necessity.
Yeah, and this demands a pretty harsh shift in how you view the universe. The Stoics are really clear on this. The universe, it does not promise safety, it demands alignment. That's a key quote. It's described as profoundly just. But just here means rewarding harmony and penalizing incompatibility. Like physics. It doesn't care about your hopes or wishes. It only responds to discipline and understanding its nature.
I want to linger on that word justice for a second. Normally we think fairness, moral rightness. Here it sounds more like, gravity, that immutable law.
That's exactly it. It's the physics of virtue. The universe is structured by cause and effect. Simple as that. When you act according to reason and your nature as a rational being, you're in sync with the logos, the result, flourishing. Not because the universe is being nice, but because you're operating efficiently within its parameters. It's just cause and effect. Act irrationally against that nature, you generate immediate friction. That's suffering. That's the penalty.
Which brings us to Cleanthes, his hymn to Zeus. That famous quote. It feels like signing this total, unconditional surrender to reality, but framing it as the ultimate win. He wrote, "Lead me, O Zeus, and thou, O destiny, to that goal long ago assigned to me I follow willingly. But if I will not, I shall follow nonetheless." That last line is chilling.
It's the strategic genius of it. Cleanthes saw it clearly. The event itself, the destiny, the outcome of the causal chain, that's fixed. It's outside his control. The only thing he could actually control was his internal disposition towards that event, how he chose to meet it. So by consenting, by actively saying, yes, this is what must happen, he just eliminates the internal conflict, that grinding misery most people live with.
But how does just saying, "I follow willingly,"
Yeah.
How does that become a strategic gain? Isn't it just making peace with things?
It's about energy consolidation. Think about it. Resistance scatters your soul, right? It drains your cognitive resources, anxiety, anger, resentment, the endless what ifs. When you obey reason, when you consent to external reality, you gather all that scattered energy back. You unify yourself. You become focused, intentional. You stop wasting, say, 90% of your effort fighting what you can't change anyway. And that frees up 100% of your power for what you can control, your judgments, your next move. So the very first act of the strategist is purification. Silencing that inner noise, that fever of desires, and accepting the basic structure of the fight ahead.
Okay, so if the logos is the cosmic law, we need to see it in us, in the individual. The source is the order, is the ratio in your heartbeat, the geometry of your thought. Right? And if we oppose this internally, we don't just suffer, we perish, dispersed among the shadows of one's own rebellion. We literally disintegrate. What does that look like day to day?
Well, day to day, it looks like indecision, that gnawing feeling. It looks like procrastination, but the kind born out of fear, not laziness. It looks like making those small moral compromises that eat away at you. When the geometry of thought is broken, you have, say, a leader who knows they should make a tough, principled call. That's reason, the logo speaking. But instead, they choose the easier path, the one that feels better short term. That's appetite rebellion. The consequence is immediate internal fracturing. You feel guilt, anxiety about the inevitable fallout, and you lose trust in your own judgment. You feel scattered. The strategy here is recognizing your moral coherence, your internal integrity, is actually your ultimate weapon, your power source.
Yeah.
Sacrifice that. You cease to be a unified force. You become, as the text says, dispersed. You lose command of yourself.
And to stop that disintegration, we built this fortress within. That's the next crucial step, the foundation for any real strategy.
Exactly. And this fortress is built on a really sobering truth, the impermanence of external power. Think about Marcus Aurelius, the Roman Empire he commanded, gone. Think about modern fortunes, tech empires, built and lost, sometimes in just years. The Codex is blunt, empires fall, bodies wither, gold decays. But the mind that commands its own reactions, that stands unbroken amidst ruin. The wise person knows that building their citadel in perception and how they interpret things is the only investment that truly pays off. Guaranteed return.
So the real enemy isn't out there, it's internal. It wears your own face, like fear, desire, rage. The text warns, each thought unexamined is a traitor, each passion ungoverned, a breach in the walls of the soul. So the strategist has to pacify this inner storm first.
Right?
Before engaging the outside world. You can't lead others if you're ruled by your own appetites.
Couldn't have said it better. And for the actual blueprint, the architecture of this fortress, we looked to Chrysippus. He was the logician of the Stoa. He gave us this, quality control system for the soul. Every judgment, every bit of sensory info coming in has to pass 3 tests, 3 walls, before it gets assent, before you let it in and accept it as true or important.
Okay, let's detail these 3 questions. This sounds like the practical drill. The guard duty at the fortress gate.
Right. Well, number 1, the most famous, is this within my control? This is just strategic triage, basic resource allocation. Think about how much human anxiety is wasted on things outside our sphere of will.
Yeah.
The weather, what rivals do, past mistakes, what other people think of us. Apply this filter rigorously. The strategist instantly saves massive amounts of mental energy. You redirect effort only where it matters, your judgments, your actions, your character.
So it's not just philosophical navel-gazing. It's an energy optimization tool.
Yeah.
Very strategic.
Absolutely. Wall number 2, is this in accord with nature? This one prevents internal contradictions, stops moral decay. Now, nature here means 2 things. 1, the cosmic order, the logos. 2, our specific human nature, which is fundamentally rational and social. So if a thought or a potential action is based on malice, irrational fear, or excessive greed, it's out of sync. It violates our design as reasoning, social creatures. This wall ensures internal consistency, coherence.
Okay. And the third wall, the final checkpoint.
Is this governed by reason or by appetite? This tests the motive, the driving force behind the impulse, that urge to snap at someone, the sudden desire for some luxury you don't need, the craving for validation. Is it driven by cool, calculated reason, or by a hot, fleeting appetite, a passion? With these 3 walls, no falsehood, no irrational impulse gets passed unchallenged. It's continuous, aggressive, real-time quality control for your mind. It ensures the commander of your inner fortress is always reason itself, not fear, not desire, reason.
This idea of internal governance. It just screams Marcus Aurelius. Here's a guy literally commanding the world's mightiest army, yet his meditations are full of instructions for retreating. But retreating inward. He called it retreat, but the source clarifies it was rearmament.
Absolutely. He was making sure his inner city stayed ordered, even while the external empire was under constant threat, constant siege. The world simply cannot touch the person who stands guard at the gate of their perceptions, filtering everything through those three questions. Serenity, in this context, it's not a feeling like being blissed out. It's a tactical posture. It's the stillness before the strike. The Stoic observes silently, perceives accurately, adjusts their internal state, and then acts, but only in harmony with the command of reason.
Okay, we've got the why, the internal setup. Now we pivot to the how, the three disciplines of application, moving from defense to active strategy. We start with discipline 3, the discipline of perception, or as the source puts it, seeing the world naked.
Yeah, and this might be the most fundamental tactical shift the Stoics demand. It's huge. All error, all suffering, they argue, starts in interpretation, not in sight. The world itself is neutral, raw data. The world does not wound you, your judgment of it does. That's a core maxim. You're never actually injured by an event, only by your opinion about that event. A spear pierces flesh, sure, but only opinion pierces the soul. Only your judgment causes that deep internal wound.
That gap between the objective thing happening and our subjective take on it.
Yeah.
That's where the freedom is.
That's exactly it. Chrysippus taught that freedom lives in that tiny, microscopic space between the raw sensory impression hitting you and your agreement with it, the untrained person. They react instantly. They just grant assent to the first, usually negative judgment that floods in. This is terrible. He insulted me. But the strategist, they freeze that moment. They put the judgment in quarantine, so to speak. They decode the event, look at the facts without accepting the emotional charge attached. The raw data stays, but the poison, the negative judgment is filtered out.
We should bring in Epictetus here, a man who really knew suffering, being a former slave. He was blunt about this. He said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." Almost like a military command. So how does the strategist do this inner reconnaissance, purifying perception?
It's about relentless practice, daily practice, stripping away the masks that desire or fear or just cultural habit place onto reality. It means seeing the facts cold, hard, exact, without adding your personal story, your narrative on top. Like, say your company loses a big contract. The untrained mind immediately sees disaster, personal failure, the end. The strategist must train themselves to see a contractual agreement was terminated due to market shifts, period. One is an emotional catastrophe. The other is just data for the next strategic move. See the difference?
And the most practical place to fight this battle is language, our internal self-talk, and even what we say out loud. The Codex gives actual steps for this decoloring process.
Yes, practical steps. The first rewrite is crucial for interactions. Instead of thinking or saying, "That guy insulted me," you enforce strict, objective observation. Words of a certain vibration reached my ear. Or maybe he expressed a negative opinion. You focus on the physical reality, sound waves hitting your eardrum, the content of his words without automatically internalizing it as a personal attack that defines you. You refuse to accept the premise that someone else's words have power over your inner state unless you grant them that power.
That's like ultimate self-defense. Someone throws a weapon, but you just refuse to catch it. You let it drop.
Exactly. The second rewrite tackles loss. Instead of "I lost everything," the strategist corrects the script. Change has occurred. It acknowledges the objective shift assets gone, status changed, without the paralyzing drama of total disaster. It separates the factual event from the panic and despair that usually come bundled with it.
So when you, the listener, can look at something objectively difficult, maybe even tragic, and just see the pattern, the data, then you're genuinely free.
Free because your vision is accurate. You see things as they are. You understand the underlying structure, the logos, the law of the cosmos. And by seeing that law clearly, the strategist starts to become a reflection of that law themselves in human form. That clarity of sight, that naked perception, is the absolute prerequisite for any effective action.
Which leads us straight into discipline 4, the discipline of action. Because thought without action is just smoke, right? But action without thought is chaos. The strategist has to move like the logos moves governed by law, not just impulse or frenzy.
Exactly. This discipline is all about the quality and the source of your actions. The strategist acts because the action itself is the right thing to do, because it aligns with reason, not because they're seeking applause or trying to impress people. The measure of an action isn't its echo in the crowd, as the text says. It's not how much noise it makes on social media. It's solely its accordance with reason.
And that difference between action and reaction feels really key here. Most people, the multitude, they just react. They're slaves to sensation. They move when poked or prodded or tempted.
But the strategist waits, calculates, reads the field, understands the rhythm of cause and effect, then moves. And when the movement comes, it's deliberate, efficient, often irreversible. It's like fate made flesh, purposeful. And importantly, that action is never just one thing. Every truly virtuous action is composite. It's made up of the four weapons of the strategist. These have to work together as one unified whole. If even one is missing, the action is flawed, incomplete, fractured.
Okay, let's break down these four weapons. This sounds crucial for effective action. Start with the obvious one.
1. Reason. Obvious but foundational. This is the compass. It discerns the objective situation, calculates what must be done to fulfill your duty, your role, handles the analysis, clear thinking. 2. Courage. Once reason points the way, courage ensures you do it without hesitation, without being paralyzed by fear of failure or consequences. It's the engine of execution.
Okay, reason and courage make sense. What about justice? How does justice work as a weapon for a strategist? Seems more moral.
Well, Stoic justice is about playing your part correctly within that city of gods and men. It means your actions shouldn't cause unnecessary harm. They should respect the dignity of others as fellow rational beings. Practically, for a leader today, justice means honoring agreements, paying debts, leading with integrity, treating people fairly, even competitors or subordinates, not out of fuzzy altruism, but because injustice is fundamentally irrational. It creates instability, resentment, blowback. It's just bad long-term strategy. Justice ensures your action is clean, it builds a stable foundation, prevents future chaos.
Right, it prevents unnecessary friction. And the last one, temperance. We usually think of it as, not drinking too much wine. How is that a strategic weapon? Especially the idea of restraining the excess of victory.
Temperance is about restraint, yes, but also self-awareness. Crucially, it stops the strategist from getting drunk on success. Victory breeds dangers. Arrogance, overconfidence, stretching resources too thin, making needless enemies out of pride. Temperance acts like a governor on the engine. It forces the strategist to stay clear-headed, conserve energy, stick to the objective, even when riding high. It basically prevents today's success from planting the seeds of tomorrow's failure, keeping your head.
So if an action is, say, courageous and driven by reason, but it's fundamentally unjust or lacks temperance, it breaks that internal unity. It becomes irrational itself.
Precisely. It fractures the soul's coherence. The pinnacle of this discipline, the ideal, is what Marcus Aurelius pointed to, the silence of execution. He famously wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. No grandstanding, no endless self-justification, no seeking pats on the back. You align with the logos, you deploy the four virtues as one, and you just act. Like the sun rising," he suggested. It just does its job without need of permission or applause.
That smooth, silent execution. It flows naturally into Discipline 5, the discipline of will. This feels like the final frontier, the really hard-won mastery. For when perception and action hit their limits, when you face the truly uncontrollable, it's about alchemy, turning necessity into strength.
Exactly. It all centers on that core distinction from Epictetus. Some things are in our power and some are not. So basic, yet so profound. The untrained will, it screams at the storm, demanding the waves stop, wastes colossal energy fighting the inevitable. The Stoic will, it focuses entirely on the rudder, the only part of the ship it actually controls, its own judgments and responses. Mastery is ruling what depends on you. Wisdom is accepting what doesn't. Put them together, you get this kind of armor of invincibility.
But how do we avoid just rolling over? Doesn't accepting necessity lead to resignation? Giving up?
That's the crucial difference. It's not resignation, it's transfiguration. Alchemy. The training ground, the source says, is pain. Because fate, necessity, it grinds the weak into dust, but it polishes the wise into diamonds. The strategist doesn't pray for an easier world or fewer obstacles. They ask for a harder soul, more resilience, more strength. Resignation says, I give up, this is too hard. Transfiguration asks, okay, this is the constraint. How can I use this very constraint to become stronger, smarter, better?
Okay, give us the mechanism, the how-to of that alchemy. How does the Stoic will actually consume misfortune, turn lead into gold?
Chrysippus, again, provides clarity. He argued that even Zeus, the king of the gods, is bound by reason, by the logos. So by aligning your will with that same universal necessity, you stop fighting against this alien world. You actually become an instrument of the world's unfolding. It's called supreme participation. You're no longer a victim of circumstance, you're a collaborator with reality. So instead of seeing losing that big client as a personal disaster, an external attack, you view it as a necessary condition imposed by the logos. Maybe it forces a strategic pivot you should have made ages ago but were too comfortable to attempt. You don't just tolerate the setback, you immediately integrate it. You make it part of your new operational plan.
It sounds like philosophical anti-fragility.
Yeah.
The very things that should break you actually make you stronger because you incorporate them.
That's a perfect way to put it. Marcus Aurelius gives us the defining image for this transmutation. The Stoic will doesn't run from misfortune. It consumes it, like a furnace. The blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it. Suffering, obstacles, loss. When processed through the filter of reason and accepted by an aligned will, they cease to be suffering in the conventional sense. They become fuel. Fuel for strategy, fuel for growth. The inevitable becomes the chosen.
So freedom gets completely redefined here, doesn't it?
Completely. Freedom isn't the absence of constraints. That's an illusion. Freedom is the absolute mastery of your response within those inescapable constraints. You could lose everything, external health, job, reputation, whatever. But if your will remains aligned with the logos, with reality, you are fundamentally unbroken. No dictator, no market crash, no personal tragedy can truly touch the person who has stopped resisting necessity. Their endurance itself becomes their ultimate enduring strategic advantage.
Okay, we've built the inner fortress, we've got the disciplines for engaging the world. Now we climb to the apex of command, the final stages of mastery, internal sovereignty, starting with segment 6, the emperor within.
Right. The Codex is very clear. Governing other people is hard, sure, but governing oneself, that's divine. That's the real prize. Your outer empire, your career, your family, your influence, it's ultimately just a reflection of your inner state, your inner empire. Marcus Aurelius knew this deep down. Emperor of Rome, yet his private journal, the Meditations, reads like secret orders to himself. He was constantly waging this silent internal war against his own fatigue, his anger, his moments of despair. He knew real authority starts with self-command.
And Seneca, who saw the absolute chaos of Nero's reign. He got it too. External power without internal law, without self-control is just dangerous corruption, volatile. A leader who can't rule their own thoughts, their own impulses, they have no real right and ultimately no ability to rule anything else effectively, not even their own household, let alone an organization or a state.
Zeno gave us the model for this inner state, his invisible republic. He pictured the soul as a perfectly structured city-state, reason as the lawgiver, setting the rules, virtue acts as the magistrate, enforcing those laws fairly. And passion. Passion is a subject population necessary, but confined to its proper place, strictly governed by reason. True serenity, real peace, doesn't come when external circumstances are perfect. That never lasts. It comes when that internal city is well ordered. The strategist's true empire is internal, and it doesn't depend on luck or fortune.
So this emperor within, they command not by force, not by shouting down impulses, but by alignment. Like the source says, the Stoic commands as the sun commands the dawn by being what he is.
Exactly. Their example, their internal consistency, that's what governs more deeply than any explicit order they might give to themselves or others. And the daily practice is crucial. It's not a one-time achievement. The emperor within holds a constant internal tribunal, a daily reaffirmation of sovereignty. Anger flares up. Command patience. Pleasure tempts you towards excess. Command restraint. Fear and desire come knocking like lobbyists trying to sway policy. The emperor, within, hears their petitions, weighs them against the logos, against reason, and calmly dismisses the irrational ones. As Marcus Aurelius noted, our true joy, our purpose, is to do the things we were made for. And as rational beings, we were made to use reason to rule our impulses.
Okay, that leads us to the final threshold, segment 7. Confronting the ultimate external reality, our own mortality. This is the fire and the cosmos unity and the idea of eternal return.
Yeah, this is where Stoicism really moves beyond just like self-help techniques into a complete worldview, a cosmology. The core teaching is that the universe itself is a living fire, a rational fire, the logos, and everything in it, stars, planets, us, we're all just sparks from that fire. Temporary manifestations. Death, therefore, isn't annihilation. It's simply reabsorption into the logos, a return to the source energy, like a wave returning to the ocean. To resist this fundamental cycle that's seen as madness, pure folly, to accept it, to join it willingly, that's liberation. Zeno saw the cosmos as one giant living body. Your individual life is just a single cell within that body. Every event, good or bad, is just a necessary heartbeat of the whole organism.
So that strategic consent we talked about with Cleanthes, I follow willingly, this is its ultimate application, applied to existence itself.
Absolutely. Freedom at this highest level isn't about escaping the chain of cause and effect. You can't. It's about moving in perfect conscious rhythm with that chain. with necessity, with the flow of the cosmic fire. Marcus Aurelius found immense practical comfort, real serenity in observing this cycle. He constantly reminded himself, everything you see, everyone you know, it will all perish soon. Mountains crumble, rivers dry up, empires fall, but the underlying order of the world, the logos, that remains, eternal and renewing. Serenity comes from understanding that what dies in its specific form returns immediately in its function, its energy, its matter, back into the cycle. The strategist understands the fire doesn't mourn the embers that fade, it just reclaims the fuel to keep burning.
And Seneca completely reframes death here. The strategist meditates on it not as some terrible interruption, but as a consummation of duty.
Exactly. He argued that if you've lived your life aligned with the logos, fulfilling your rational nature, you cannot die unfulfilled, because your purpose wasn't accumulating stuff or achieving fame. Your purpose was alignment itself, living according to reason. So death isn't failure, it's just the natural completion of the assignment. The goal isn't personal immortality, clinging to this specific form. It's about conscious, willing participation in the eternal structure while you're here. And the final, decisive shift in perspective is profound. When facing catastrophe, personal loss, or their own end, the strategist doesn't cry out, "Why me?" That question implies the universe owes you something different. Instead, they state, with this deep, serene acceptance, "Thus it must be." This is what reality dictates. This acceptance moves beyond mere philosophy into something almost divine, in a pragmatic sense. They aren't detached or unfeeling, they are simply exact. Their perception is clear. They aren't cold, they are lucid. They become, in their own way, a perfect reflection of the law itself.
Because the logos demands coherence. It demands you become, how did the source put it, self-sufficient, ordered, luminous, and free. Knowing that the same rational law governs the stars in your own breath, that kind of understanding, it dissolves fear, doesn't it?
It does. The source uses this powerful image for the culmination. Every trial, every loss, every humiliation is fire. And the soul, when it endures without complaint, meaning without irrational resistance, emerges tempered, clarified, made radiant with truth. The truly wise person, the ultimate strategist, doesn't pray for ease. They actually welcome the flame of challenge, because that's how the fortress is tested. That's how its invincibility is forged and proven.
Wow. Okay, we have walked through the 7 gates of this Stoic Strategist Codex. We've translated some pretty hardcore ancient wisdom into, well, tactical self-command. Let's quickly synthesize those 7 pillars again. The path to mastery.
Right. We started with the logos, recognizing that eternal rational order is the fundamental reality and demanding our strategic consent. Then, building the fortress within, that mental citadel, guarded by Chrysippus's 3 questions: control, nature, appetite.
Then we move to application. The how. The discipline of perception, seeing reality naked, stripping away subjective judgment. The discipline of action, moving purposefully, guided by reason, using those 4 virtues, reason, courage, justice, temperance, as one unified weapon. And the discipline of will, that alchemy of turning necessity, even pain and loss, into fuel and strength.
And finally, we reach the apex, sovereignty of the soul, becoming that emperor within, ruling the invisible republic of your own mind, and accepting the fire in the cosmos, understanding mortality not as an end, but as reabsorption, as unity with the eternal cycle. The strategist, then, lives by structure, not by hope, by rational law, not by fleeting passion.
And the true victory, according to this codex, isn't about conquering the external world. It's about becoming its perfect reflection. Your empire is reason. Your ultimate victory is self-mastery. The ideal strategist is described as silent, burning, and serene, a really powerful, concentrated force.
Which brings us right to the final provocative thought, the one the Codex leaves you with. And it demands daily, aggressive work. The command is basically a call for total, constant renewal. Die daily. Let each night extinguish what is weak. Let each dawn ignite what is pure.
So the question for you listening right now is, what does it actually mean for you to wake up tomorrow morning as the emperor of your own self, armed with nothing but clarity and that strategic consent to reality? What are the secret orders, those internal commands? Like Marcus Aurelius wrote, what will you write to yourself today, right now, to ensure that by the time you go to sleep tonight, the fire has burned away whatever was weak, whatever was irrational, and only strategic purity remains? The real campaign, the internal one, begins now.